T. It's in the name.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast. On today's episode, Jacob Hennigan flips the script on us, and he'll be interviewing us, asking us some questions about the adventures of Ben and Travis and the Joyrider. We'll get to those very important, earth-shattering questions after this important message about the Joyrider. Hey friends, we've got something really special to share with you today, a brand new children's book that's all about faith, family, and finding joy in the middle of life's challenges. It's called The Adventures of Ben and Travis and the Joyrider. This heartwarming story follows a big brother in a wheelchair who uses his creativity, courage, and a whole lot of love to help his little brother and cousin overcome life's obstacles. Together they show us that joy isn't about what you have, it's about how you choose to face the ups and downs of life. This book is full of fun, adventure, and hope. It's perfect for bedtime stories, Sunday school libraries, or as a meaningful gift for the kids in your life. Plus, it's a great way to start conversations with your family about resilience, compassion, and faith. Pre-orders are open now, and when you order early, you'll be one of the first to get your hands on this inspiring story. Just head over to benandtravis.com/books. That's benandtravis.com/books and pre-order your copy today. Give your kids a story that will make them smile, laugh, and believe in the power of joy. I'm Travis Creasy, the pulpit minister at Westgate Church of Christ in Dothan, Alabama. That guy over there is All-Pro Counselor Ben Hayes with Highland Park Church of Christ, Mars Hill Bible School, and generally just an awesome person. But all awesome people are weird in my book. So, hey, I strive to be weirder every day. And if you ask my wife, I always accomplish that goal. How you doing, Ben?
You do accomplish that goal quite often. You've accomplished it all your life, and I appreciate that about you. Have always enjoyed getting to hang out with you, do all sorts of crazy things at CYC, which I guess by the time this airs, it may be over with.
It'll be over.
That's crazy. So I hope everything went well at CYC. I hope we got you guys a bunch of these books at CYC. That's really what I'm hoping. But yeah, just doing great. Glad to be a part of this project with you, and of course with the over here Jacob Hennigan, who is the illustrator of The Adventures of Ben and Travis and the Worry Coaster, and The Adventures of Ben and Travis and the Joyrider. And we're just really thankful for what you have done, Mr. Hennigan. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I cannot complain, and if I did, it wouldn't do any good.
That's exactly right.
Amen.
Exactly right. Well, I think what we had planned for today was last week we asked you some questions about your experience with doing the art for specifically the Joyrider, although Worry Coaster got brought up a time or two. So we were going to let you throw some questions, I believe, at us about our experience.
Yes, indeed. So, in flipping the script on you, I don't know if we're going to get through all of the questions, but we're going to try our best. So, without further ado, let's get on to it. So, first thing I wanted to ask is, what kind of real-life experiences inspired the Joyrider book? And how did Bradley's character specifically begin to take shape for y'all? Take shape on the page?
So, my first question, or my first answer to that, Travis could probably talk more about it, but so much of what we did growing up, I mean, Bradley was always there. And so when we started thinking about what are we going to do in the next book, of course, we had sort of early on talked about we'd like to hit some of these topics, and joy came up. And in my mind, I thought about, count it all joy, which that gets thrown into the book at some point from James chapter 1. Travis can tell you, he lived with him. Bradley had surgery after surgery after surgery, broken bones because of the way his body was contorted, just all sorts of things. And I guess he just always had a smile on his face. And so when we thought about joy, it was like, well, who shows joy through trial any better than Bradley? And so he's just always been kind of an inspirational character in our family. Everybody loves Bradley. Everybody asks about Bradley. Everybody waits for him to get there. I mean, like, he's just that guy, you know. So Travis can maybe say even more about that, but.
Well, I find it funny, and he loves it. You know, at CYC, if Bradley came, that would be Travis's brother. But here in Florence, funny enough, among the place where he stays, El Reposo, I am Bradley's brother, and he revels in that. He loves it. But just to Ben's point, you know, there's nobody tougher in our family than Bradley. I know that even when I had leukemia, that wasn't a big deal to him. He didn't like me being sick, but you know, it was also kind of like, hey man, suck it up, dude. This is like one time. I've done this my entire life. You know, he did, as we've said on the podcast before, he did attempt to kill me, attempted murder, when I picked the wrong DVD one time. And he had not always had a motorized wheelchair. Bradley is 50, which makes it onto the car in the book. And so there was a time where he was not able to move when he wanted to. And so shortly after getting the electric wheelchair, he communicated to us in a very special way that we had picked the wrong DVD. And I think maybe I had picked something over a monster truck DVD that he wanted to watch. That's certainly a possibility. I'm not too sure on that detail. But he
remembered something about Alabama football.
Yeah, he proceeded to run into me in the small of my back and pin me against the entertainment center, yes, which to the horror and also enjoyment of Ben, who was sitting right next to me while this was going, while his wheels turned in the rug. So as much as we love the fact that that Bradley always has a smile on his face, he definitely, as I think is depicted perfectly in the book, was certainly an older brother who also attempted, as any good older brother, to teach us about life, and he certainly did that.
And humility.
Yes.
That doesn't, it's not seen in the book, the exact place when he runs you over, but it is echoed. Don't think for a minute it kept him from going where he wanted to go, and without a word saying what he needed to say, his facial expressions along with his itchy trigger finger on the motorized wheelchair helped him communicate rather plainly. That was that definitely had its roots in Travis being run over.
I thought that was a great line. The little bit of time that I've been fortunate enough to spend with Bradley and hearing y'all tell stories about them, I thought that captured his personality beautifully, and I tried to reflect that in the page where I introduced him. So yes. I really enjoyed getting to have that as a springboard towards my art.
Yeah, it was all, you did a great job representing it for sure.
Building off of that, how does the Joyrider intentionally build in the emotional world that we established with the Worry Coaster? And what growth did you want readers to see in Ben and Travis this go round?
I guess in last book, Travis was the rescuer. I don't know if that's the right word, but the counselor in that moment. He counseled me in it. And, you know, the kids, when I read Joyrider to some of the kids here at school, they were like, you know, is that true? Are all these things true? Did Brad, you know, has he never spoken? Has he never walked? I was like, that's all true. You know, well, did this happen specifically? I was like, well, some of these things are kind of, you know, they're accurate in ways, but, you know, of course we elaborate a little bit and we tell a story to try to, you know, connect dots. So I think the growing part was we established in Worry Coaster, you know, here's some things that you can do to go through as you go through these difficult times. Here's some tools. And I think there was at least some reference back to some of that. And I tell this to clients all the time. Once you've worked through one problem, a lot of times you can use those tools to work through the next one. And so I feel like maybe there's some add-on, or at least, hey, here's here's some tools for anxiety and worry. And then here's some tools that somewhat mirror or are similar for when you're having anger or having frustrations. And nobody's immune from any of those feelings. And so Travis, certainly, we've both had those feelings, but there's been a time or two in our lives where Travis has, his anger has gotten the best of him. And so I've been there to try to help. I don't know how much I did. I think at least once my anger got the best of me on Travis when we were in college. But, we've had those moments together
here.
But we really have been that for each other through the years. Is there's times when I'm having my weak moments and Travis has been there to lift me up. And there's times when he's had them and I've tried to be there for him.
And I think that's the message, is that everybody's going to have that down day. Even the people in the book who are maybe making fun of Bradley, like, we don't know their background, right. So they're not ultimately the bad guy. And I think that's kind of the cool thing that comes out, that, yeah, they're wrong if that's what they're doing. But, Ben had his day, I have my day, where it's going to be difficult. And what we're really here to do is try to help people through that in some small way. And this was an emotional book for me. I have a feeling, I don't think we're quite ready to reveal the next one, but it's going to be emotional. And I feel kind of validated that I'm not the only one that's been emotional about it. There was a lady who had gotten a hold of the book and she had a good cry. So I can admit that and not feel ashamed about it. Just kidding. But, it's emotional. It's things you felt. It's things you've been through. And, but that reminds me that it will hit with other people too, who've been through similar things. And, if we can help somebody overcome whatever, if we can help the people who might snicker to understand how that might impact somebody, it's just kind of this wide net we're throwing to hopefully help as many people as we can.
So one of the interesting things about this to me was, as we wrote this, we were thinking about these others, and this is true. I think there were times when Travis, and all of us kind of felt weird about are people looking at Bradley that way, or, what are they thinking? And I've at least seen that in the lives of other people who have, special needs family members. And so we really wanted to give Bradley a voice, even though he's never spoken. And so we, in the dream world, he's speaking to us, things that we think he would tell us. But here's the interesting part, and Travis, you could confirm this, I think, but talked to his mom, who went and read the book to him after she got her copy. And she said, I was a little worried about the page where it said people were making fun of him, because he never knew anybody was ever making fun of him. He had, he had this demeanor about himself that was like, I don't care what people think.
I'm the coolest guy in the room. What would anybody do?
Everybody loves me, and they do. But, like, there are some people, and there's some interesting, psychological things here. There's some people who, they just think when you walk in a room, everybody's laughing at them or looking at them, or there's an issue. And then there's people who are confident in and of themselves, and they don't even think the world anything about it. And that was kind of always Bradley, which I think we sort of echoed that in there. Like, don't let other people's thoughts impact the way you feel. Be who you are and do what you do. And but I just thought that was interesting. He said, I was a little bit nervous about reading that to him, and he kind of had a look on his face. And then the next page was the trucks and all the stuff, and he's like, let's go, and he was back on board with it. But it was just I didn't think about that when we wrote those words. I just assumed at some point he had noticed at some point. So,
well, that's great. And that kind of leads into the next question. Bradley is never defined by what he can't do, but by who he is. What guiding principle shaped how you portrayed a character who uses a wheelchair without making the story about his limitations?
Ooh, that's a good one. Travis, you want to speak to that first?
Well, it's the unique perspective of anyone who's lived a lot of life with him. It's kind of wild. I don't even see him the way people see him. So it was like that was an easy thing for me to do, because I have to remind myself, and it's wild. I have to remind myself of his limitations.
Yeah.
Because he is so beaming with excitement for life, and there is that filter that I think we all kind of put on ourselves that he doesn't put on himself. If he's feeling the emotion, and he, whether good, bad, or ugly, it. And he's worked this whole life without the ability to verbally communicate that, although he's able to make some sounds that lend to that. And so for me, even reading the book, kind of to what Ben was talking about, Bradley's realization, like for me to read it, even though I'd seen the snickering and the pointing and stuff like that, like his perspective just comes through. And because he's my brother, I don't really even think of his limitations first. I think of all the awesome things he's got to do. And he's pretty good at reminding me of that. I remember a few years ago, I emceed the Heritage event with Tim Tebow, and I had rubbed it in his face for weeks that I was going to get to meet Tim Tebow and take a picture with Tim Tebow. And well, Tim leaves after he speaks. And of course, Bradley's tired in his wheelchair. And so Mom kind of slips out after he's done. And lo and behold, the only people in the parking lot are my mom, Bradley, Tim Tebow, and his entourage. And Tim Tebow is on the other side of the parking lot, stops his golf cart, and makes everyone get out and go talk to Bradley, and asks Bradley for a picture. And so ever since that event, Bradley reminds me quite often in his own way that, yeah, you got to meet Tim Tebow, but Tim Tebow got to meet me. Yeah.
It's so true too. And I think, I think so much of the book, we tried to do so much with the language, but you did so much with the pictures. The way that you brought out his personality, I think, was fantastic. And I know you haven't spent a ton of time with him, but you've seen pictures, and we sent you, stuff from when we were kids, and we've told you stories, but I don't think you could have nailed it any better. And I think the way that, he played with us as, Xavier, or, as one of the A team, or, wrestling or whatever, like we did that. I remember getting in the floor with him, and he'd put us in headlocks, and they were pretty stout. For a guy that didn't have a whole lot of muscle tone, he could lock you up. And so, there's just things that really came out about him. And I think that was so much fun to see how he was portrayed. And we've always, like we said, looked up to him and thought he was the coolest guy in the room. But I think it came across really great in the book, the way that the words, but also
he's also not above laughing at you.
Not at all.
He finds the funny in the world, and
yes.
He will straight up remind you of your embarrassing moments. So I don't feel so bad being his little brother and reminding him of some of his. So,
well, that was what I told Brad.
People real, they're real. They have feelings. They have emotions.
I told Doris when she said she was worried about it, I said, well, just tell him all the times that he's laughed at people when they get hurt playing football on TV or something. Like, he's had his moments too. He's human like the rest of us. So.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of leads into the next question. I've been saying that every time. I don't know if anybody's picked up on that. That kind of leads into the next question. Travis wrestles with frustration, anger, and sadness, which are big emotions for a child. How did you decide how honest to be while still keeping the story safe and hopeful for young readers?
Well, I think, for the most part, we're just trying to be honest. Every kid goes through them. I don't think we were, we weren't trying to hold anything back particularly. I think I've seen so many kids at school, in my practice, at church. You see big emotions. Kids do everything big. They do happy big. They do sad big. They do angry big. And so I think, seeing him get angry and know, anger in and of itself is not bad. Sad in and of itself is not bad. We sometimes label emotions. This is a bad emotion. This is a good emotion. No, it's just an emotion. And so when we get angry, there's things we should do with our anger that are better or worse, but they're not bad in and of themselves. So I think that's kind of, what we try to do is go, here's the emotion. Now, what do you do with it? Like, let's find some people who can help us with it. Let's find some tools that can help us with it. But it's not a bad thing to have it.
I remember growing up and having assumptions about adults, and certain adults, especially preachers, youth ministers. They got it all together. They didn't have any of these struggles. They're buttoned down. They don't get angry. They don't get mad. They don't, and coming out of CYC, Ben, and I'm sure you've experienced it too, Pizza Man, that there is this, whatever it is, and it feels weird to say, my kids are like, oh, you're famous. They haven't even been to CYC yet. Well, at this point they have. But to have people you can look up to or have influence that readily admit that we have these emotions and we struggle with them and we hurt, I think can encourage the larger audience, especially within the church, to think, oh, these are all human beings and they all get mad about things that maybe I don't think you should get mad about, or they get sad about things that may not be sad, to me. And so there's a hope, there's a humanity that I think it brings to not only Bradley, but us. Most of the time they see us and it's at camp or CYC and we're happy-go-lucky and having a good time. And that's absolutely true. We're not faking that. But there's also the everyday when things aren't going great, and how can we deal with those things? So I think those are tools that kids can pick up through the pictures, adults can pick up through the pictures. And of course, Ben does a great job with the parent youth minister help pages too.
Well, my kids will tell you, they've seen me mad. They've seen me sad. They've seen me in all of those emotions. And I don't think there's a single human on the planet that's not experienced those. And so I hope that as we write these books, however many there ends up being, however many Jacob will agree to draw, I think that's what we hope to do is kind of fill out that, hey, these things are normal. People go through struggles. And here's some ways to help you through them.
Okay, lightning round. What's your favorite part of the book? Travis, go.
My favorite part is, I think I told you this is the fan cam. I love the fan cam where it's me and Ben and Bradley on the fan cam snoozing for the screen, because we all three totally have that personality where if they put the camera on us, that would and it's kind of a triumphal moment, like, hey, yeah, we're in this together. And of course I love the part where you're in, spoiler alert, in the truck as the driver. Yeah. I just love stuff like that.
Absolutely. I like the cam part too, Travis, because of and I didn't put this together until maybe Jacob said this to us, but the reason he did that was, here's Travis who's worried about what other people are thinking about his brother. Now he's kind of full circle moment. He's on the big screen with his brother, like, yeah, look, I'm with this guy. So I'd never really made that connection, but I thought that was really cool. Probably one of my favorite pages. It's a random page, I guess, but I love the ice creamatorium page, just because for me, the ice cream looks phenomenal and I want some ice cream because I love ice cream. Everybody can tell you that's my weakness. I think the sign looks really great. We went to Chat and Chew the other day here in Petersville. I tried to take the kids and they were closed, and they were like, hey, is that the place in the book? And I was like, kinda, like, it doesn't look like Chat and Chew, but it kind of has the little ice cream thing out front and all that stuff. And I love the, try our new Vienna sausage flavor ice cream, which is just a great little nod.
You talking about how great the ice cream looks on the sign. That's what's on the sign, is the Vienna sausage flavor. That pink and strawberry.
I know, but see, it looks like peach or something, but it's got that, so I love it. It's just a great little nod.
Do one more lightning round question.
Okay.
What are you looking forward to most in a very short amount of time and words. What are you looking forward to most about continuing Ben and Travis in the future?
I just think there's still so much more to explore. There's so many more little adventures that we've had. But I think, I do this one because I love the, just the stories we get to tell and think about all of the old times. But the other part is, as a mental health counselor and a counselor with kids, I love to read the books to them. And so it's really cool to be able to go, I have a book I'm going to read to you about, and I'm going to teach you something from my experiences. So I'm just looking forward to being able to do that and see what you're going to do with all of our adventures.
Yeah, it's going to be similar. I just look so forward, and you feed us a little bit of the stuff you do as you go along, and it's just always exciting to kind of see what you do with it, because it is, it's Ben and I have tremendous imaginations, right? We hang out with Skits with the Truth, and we hang out with people who have really good imaginations. But to see somebody like yourself who has an even better imagination, and then you putting it on the page. And so anytime I get that ding in my email or in the text, and you've sent, even the little pencil thumbnails, it's like Christmas morning every time. And it's very exciting. And of course, my kids, they're all about it. The little part we didn't bring up, there's Kenya and Whitney debut in the book.
That's right.
And of course, my mom is in the book. And of course, now Haley and Daniel are like, so when are we getting in the book? And so I have to explain them the timeline and how it works. If I'm, 9 or 10 years old, you're not even taught yet. So, but that doesn't keep them from thinking at some point. I'm like, well, maybe somebody in the crowd or something. But
so do you have an answer for that question yourself?
I don't know. I'm always excited about the start of the creative process, and y'all have always given me great stuff to draw, stuff that I am excited about drawing, where it's not work, it's play. And so I always love us starting the ideas for a new book, and me getting to think, oh man, this would be great if we do this, and I get to draw this, and the visual will look like this, and I get to handle it this way. So that's always a treat for me in working with y'all. We think a lot of the same stuff is very cool, and so I always have plenty of cool stuff to draw.
Yeah.
Well, and we will have already been at CYC, so I'm assuming we will have already announced our topic for the next book while we're at CYC, right, Travis? If not, we can cut this out of this part of the podcast. But the next one is going to handle kind of a tough topic of self-doubt and loneliness and things like that are associated with kids that have had parents go through divorce. And the kind of dream world is going to be another thing that we love to imagine. And that's sort of almost like a dragons and knights and castles, but also maybe some inspiration from like He-Man,
Saturday morning cartoon stuff.
Saturday morning cartoons. So if you like Saturday morning cartoons, you might like this one. So back in the olden days of Saturday morning cartoons. But
all right, as I mentioned, you can get a copy of The Joy Rider at benandtravis.com/books. Jacob, tell us once again, one more time, where we can get more of your art, either commissioned or just see how cool it is.
If you are on Facebook or Instagram, my CB handle is the same on both websites. It's Jacob_Hennigan_art. So JACOB_HENNIGAN_ART.
Did we even drop the title for the next book? Did I let you say that? I don't think I let
didn't
you say that.
Ben and Travis, The Adventures of Ben and Travis and the Divided Kingdom.
Sweet. Well, y'all have a great one, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.
Thank Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.